Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for my custom Armada Scavenger figure. So you can get a 360 view of him before he gets unveiled. So this is what he looks like with his cloak on. I did a pretty good color match to the animation model. And then one thing I noticed about the animation model is they cut off his shoulder treads. So in the animation model, he just has like rounded shoulders, which doesn't make any sense because his shoulders are as tall as his head. But that's what he looks like. So this is a pretty cool accessory. It does have, I did glue a wire in the bottom just to give it that effect. Like it looks like it's getting wind blown, of course. So that's pretty cool. So I like that. And that definitely looks better than just having it cover his body. All right, and here he is with the Legacy Armada Megatron and the Legacy Armada Optimus Prime. And you'll notice this Optimus Prime does have like the thigh lengthening, and then the Megatron is wearing his platform shoes. So so Scavenger is actually pretty big. If we take off these platform shoes, he's probably taller than Megatron. Actually, they're almost about exactly the same size. So he's definitely a leader class now. Okay, so that's enough delaying. Let's go ahead and do the big unveil so we can open up his cloak. And a cool thing he can do, oh, I forgot to take these rubber bands that are holding his treads on. I glued his treads in place because they were falling apart. So anyway, we can get this kind of look where he's got his cloak half on, and of course it doesn't restrict his arm movement too much. You do have to raise it up, but he can basically get his arms moving. Well, I guess he can get like one of his arms moving, but basically it looks cool if you have half of him shrouded while the other half has his arm out. But yeah, this whole thing basically has two holes up here for his shoulders and then the hole for his head, and you just lift the whole thing off. I haven't done this, so I don't know if this will be a pain or not, but these mini-con ports kind of hold it in place, which is a good thing, but kind of annoying too. Okay, yeah, undressing him is getting a little bit difficult, so I'll just do it off camera. Okay, there we go. Everything's over his shoulders, so now it's just going to come off nice and easily. And then there's the whole cloak assembly, which is pretty cool. So you can just like, you can have a pose of him just like tossing that off to the side. That's pretty cool. And then here he is in all his glory. So he's got a little bit, I'll admit, he's got a little bit of weirdness to him. He's a little stumpy. I was very tempted to just get another Armada Scavenger because these guys are very cheap if you get them incomplete, and just use a second one to make his arms longer and make his thighs and everything longer. But I made this whole guy with one Armada Scavenger. So I think he looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and put him with all the other Armada figures I have now. All right, and here's a group shot of all my Armada figures so far. I think that's probably everybody I'm interested in. I can't think of any other Armada figures that I'm really missing. I think Scavenger was the last one I was excited about. And most of these are customs. I definitely have to make another Starscream. He's definitely too big for this set. He needs to be shrunk down a little bit. But yeah, you can see most of these are customs. There's only a couple that are the original Armada figures. Alright, and let's get a 360 view of him with his cloak off. And I think you can agree that he's looking pretty good. He's definitely got some kibble on the back of his legs. And I am cheating because I tore this piece off. And this piece and these pieces should technically just be taking up space in his back. So he is a little bit cleaner than he'll actually be when I'm done with him. So he'll have a little bit of extra back kibble. But he's nearly done, and this is what he looks like, which I think is pretty great considering how messed up his legs were. And before we get to like all the cool poses he can do now that I've like worked on his articulation, I also made one, I don't know what you call it. I preserved his really stupid stomping gimmick, so you can just tab these wheels together. So you basically just sandwich these together, and then this piece back here will all tab in. So everything will just basically lock into place. And then you open up these little panels here so that his legs can shift up and down. And then his legs still do the walking thing. So I'll put that all together and you'll see that roll on the table. Okay, so he's all pinned together, and I forgot I have to bend his knees backwards a little bit just to make him a little bit shorter. So he looks kind of dumb with his arms out. Okay, and then you kind of just hold it back here, and you can see he's doing kind of the walking thing. This rubber tire isn't doing a very good job, but if I put him on this foam, he does it very nicely. So you can see he's getting that cool walking pose going. And then his kind of disengaged a little bit, but it's there. I don't know if I'm going to keep that because I don't know. It looks kind of silly, but I guess it's cool. I like it. I think it's worth keeping to just get him looking like he's walking. It's really dumb, but I don't know. I find it to be really fun, and I guess if I separate his legs, he can still kind of do it on this foam mat. Maybe if I hold him up here, kind of. Yeah, it's just better when his legs are together, so he can kind of do the walking pose. But yeah, it's a dumb little gimmick. I probably didn't need to save it. And then his missile gimmick, I did have to disable. Alright, so let's talk about his poseability. So he's still got the regular head swivel. I didn't change that at all. I did give him these ball joint shoulders because I notice most of the time when people do these customs, he doesn't have any bicep swivel, but when you do this, it kind of does give him some bicep swivel, so it does give him some expression to move his arms in and out. And then I improved a little bit his bicep rotation, so it's about 90 degrees. There's not much you can really do about it. Maybe if I cut this piece off. But he can kind of reach across his chest a little bit, so he doesn't have bicep swivel, it's all in the shoulders, but this kind of counts. I'm considering maybe giving him ball joint elbows. I don't know if I want to make him taller, because then it would disable his walking mode. He still has his waist swivel, and he can move his shoulders out that far. He still has his hand articulation. I wanted to ball joint his thumb, but it didn't really seem like it was going to make much difference. His hands still are kind of like large and goofy, but you can get I guess like kind of looking like fighting poses out of him. And then he does have these ball joint hips which kick forward this much. It's a little bit awkward because it has this armature, but if you open this up, it kind of lets it have all the range it needs. It does move out, and thankfully it's got this hinge right here so he can express that. So you can get side motion. You can kind of cheat it a little bit to get some thigh swivel, but only a little bit. So you can get him to get some pretty expressive poses, I think. And he does have these ball joint knees too. So he can get into a, I guess, fighting pose. Something like that. You can actually unclip these side armatures. You can unclip these things. You see they're just on clips from his shins, and that frees up his legs a lot, so you can really see what his actual leg articulation is. He can kick out. He can do the splits this much. He can kick this far forward, which isn't very much, but this is just like loose now because it doesn't have the armature holding it in place. But he can get like this much forward kick, and then with his knee bend, he's got about that much knee bend, so a little less than 90 degrees. So you can kind of get some better articulation from him. Maybe just for posing, it's not really fun to play with like this. And it does make him look like a little bit, you could squeeze like a little bit more tallness out of him. So that's kind of cool. So I think that's probably how I'll have him posed. He looks a lot cleaner. And I do want to like call attention to like how good I did the thighs on this guy. I just used his own pieces and just made his thighs to surround his legs, so there's no hollowness except for down here. So I'll have to get some more, find some more green plastic I cut off him, use that to fill in those gaps. But yeah, that's pretty cool that he can get a little bit taller, which I think fits his figure with his legs unpegged. Yeah, I think for the final version I will have him like this, and I'll have it so that his shins also have a place they can peg in so that he'll be nice and solid, but I think that'll be the improvement I can make on him. So anyway, let's go into transformation. Alright, and the transformation's exactly the same as the original figure. You're just going to flip down this chest all the way. You're going to tab these shins, and that's just going to have them just flopping around. You can use the hinges to just get them more out of the way. And then you're just going to peg all this section together. So it's a little tricky, like lining up all the different posts that peg into place. I might have to improve that with a clip as well. But once you got it, everything posts in, everything's nice and straight. And then you're going to take his shoulders and just push them back, and that's going to push his head back. And then you're going to push his head down into this. You're going to rotate his torso 180, and then you're basically just going to lay him down here, and then straighten out these scoop sections. They're going to peg together, and then his feet are going to pivot into the scoop of the tractor, and then these sections just rotate out of the way. These rotate into place, and then this whole thing will just kind of drop down to the front of him, and then his arms are just going to lazily lay by his side and become the treads. So you get something that basically looks like this, which can definitely be cleaned up a little bit. I'm going to like have him pivot his waist a little bit just to get this looking a little bit better as best I can. Maybe like shorten the distance, get this off the ground a little bit more. There we go. So now the treads are what's holding him up, and he's not just dragging on the ground. And then just have that there. And that's basically his vehicle mode. Obviously he's missing this. So this just, I like to just drop this in right here. This still pegs into place. And then this exhaust pipe would just go like right here. So his alt mode would look something like that. So yeah, there's some compromises that had to be made, because now it's just like the cab section is just his thighs, or the back of his thighs. So he'd look something like that. I think it's worth it to get a cool looking robot mode. And then I'll attach these for real later. And then, like I said, I did glue his treads so they don't roll anymore. So all the rolling just happens with the steam rolling part in the back. But, oh yeah, and then you lock these into place. But yeah, I think that's pretty similar to his original mode. There's not much compromise there. If I had his Minicon, you could just have him stand up here. So yeah, I just got to work on this, and then he's pretty much complete. So yeah, I hope you liked that custom. I enjoyed this guy a lot. I think he's a great character. Hopefully they do release an Age of the Primes version of this guy. I think he is one of the better characters in Armada. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.